Welcome to Pat O'Keefe's World of Curiosities. Tonight's guest is Michelle Horan, and we are so happy to have her. She is an amazing person. In fact, her neighbors call her the Witch of Roby Road. So we're happy to have you.
Well, thank you for asking me to be on this program. I'm excited.
Well, I can't think of anyone better. Tonight we're going to be talking about the magic of the Appalachians. And that's something that you know quite a bit about. So tell us what that means to you.
Oh my goodness, I have to start with the elemental nature of Appalachia itself. If you look at studies of geology and such, the entirety of the Americas was built because the Appalachians were here. And they were the tallest mountains. And then the runoff from that ended up becoming the Great Plains and then out to California and such. And so, if you look at the way geology has shaped, we are the beginning of this nation as far as a region goes. We have an underground cavern system that is the largest in the world. West Virginia, I thought, which I was mistaken, was the salamander capital of the world. I was incorrect, which is still part of Appalachia, but Georgia is the salamander capital. We have 34 species of salamanders, but under the New River, we actually have a, uh, and I can't really pronounce the word correctly, but it's basically an ancient ocean that runs below the New River in Appalachia. um, there is so much. The quartz in the hills there, were close to where you live, the quartz mountains and the resonance and the iron in the land. The way that the reason that we are coal rich is because this is a place where primitive primordial life was living, like at the bottom of the oceans, and glaciers came through and moved our stones, which is why we have interesting stone precipices. And that's a big word for me to say with my new dentures. But we have cliffs. We have these beautiful cliffs, and we have outcroppings like here in West Virginia and at Beartown, close to Marlinton, West Virginia. That is an entire outcropping of stones that were moved here by glaciers from the North Pole.
I'm going to tell you something about Marlington. Believe it or not, I grew up in Greenbrier County, and so we went to Marlington quite a bit because that was one of the nearest towns, right? It was Marlington on one side. We had to go across what we call Pocahontas Mountain, and then the other side was towards Lewisburg, West Virginia.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I have been to Beartown many times, and it is breathtaking.
Does it not just stir that inner passion in your heart to be that close to something so ancient? And it's here.
It does, and it's beautiful, and it's really otherworldly. It's a very otherworldly place. It's almost like somewhere that if you believe in the fae, which many of our Celtic ancestors did, it would certainly be a place where you could see that kind of elemental, as you said, activity.
And I have a certain feeling about we are actually considered a tropical rainforest. Now that's hard to imagine considering we're in what you would consider a temperate zone, but because of our landscape, we are considered a tropical rainforest, which is amazing. And the idea that even of the people here, uh, I think of the First Nations people and all the way back and everything, and the animals that lived here, like the type of the small river bison type bison, not the type that we have now out west, um, and the elk and the different type of flora and fauna we have here. We have orchids in our forests. The lady slipper orchid is an orchid in our forest. That's only one. Our plant that's called the jack in the pulpit is a type of pitcher plant, and so on. So we really, I feel, have a very, and anybody who's from here they know when they're somewhere else. You could turn them around, spin them in a circle, put a blindfold on them. They could tell you if they were here or somewhere else. There is a, what I like to say, like I think about of our old apple butter kettles, a cauldron. Now,
Mhm.
of as witches, which we used to always say granny women. The W word, we didn't never say that until just
That's right.
that's just been a minute now, but it was always granny women. But I always think about how much are, anywhere you go here, it is like you are sort of in a womb. You are surrounded by the landscape itself. We're also one of the places where, yeah, you might actually get trampled by a deer. You could drown in a river and get eaten by a bear. So there's a lot of different things that I feel connect us with the actual primitive nature of the land itself that cause us to be unique and individual as a people, as a culture.
Well, and part of what makes us, I think, so unique that way is we are a very flexible people. I mean, that's how we survived in these mountains was our ability to change with the season, to be able to move fast on our feet, to figure out how to use the resources that we have in these beautiful mountains. So, speaking of using resources, I know when I was at your house, you had your own apothecary. So, I know that you're doing a lot of your own herbs and healing salves. Well, what's your favorite one of what would if
Oh
there's
my goodness.
one.
Okay. Oh wow, wow, wow. Can I pick more than one?
You may
No,
absolutely.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you one thing. I have a few. I have a handful of a few that I particularly care for, and they're ones I use. And I can use other herbs, but I have my go-tos. Um, Now, of course, West Virginia here and throughout Appalachia is known for singing or ginsenging, American ginseng. Um, and That's kind of what we're known for a lot as a culture. And I'll tell you, we used to do that to make ends meet so we could have money for the wintertime and stuff. My papa said about it, though, he said it was good for money, was what it was good for.
It is good for money, but, people, it's really revered, especially, like, in Asia, and they see it as an aphrodisiac for men,
Yes.
you know what I'm
Now, I
saying?
have found one ginseng root man. He was a seven prong, which they grow a certain way. They have one stalk and they grow out this way in this kind of direction, kind of flat like, and then they'll have like the little berries in the middle, and the different prongs or whatever gives you an indication of how old that plant is before you go digging around on it. The actual number of years is shown in the very top of a little ginseng where it connects to the stem, and you count the notches, and that tells you actually how many years old it is. But a lot of people don't ever let them grow the way that they used to be. I found one ginseng man. He was a seven prong, and I have a picture of him somewhere in my pictures. But I had a ruler to show how long he was and everything. But basically, he had the little top that connects to the stem that goes up, and he had a head, two arms, a body, and two legs, and that's how he grew. And that kind of root is more prized for potency medicine than these little roots that you're getting and you're selling, so that they can grind them up and put them into a powder, and then put those into a capsule type form. When you're talking about the Chinese medicine and when you're talking about root medicine in the hill, you're if it's maybe a legal root but not big enough for what you would consider medicine, you have bigger roots, you're going to use that bigger root as a remedy. You're not going to you'll sell that smaller one, and you'll have that bigger one, and that bigger one will be your prize for that remedy. As far as my favorite herbs, I have to say, goodness, I have had amazing success with the word is golden seal, but here we call it yellow root,
Mhm.
and it's yellow as yellow can be. Matter of fact, when you're working with it, you got to be careful not to stain your counters and such. Um, but it grows on one stem and two forks, and then kind of almost hand-like sort of leaves. It has a very strong um, bitter odor to it. It is bitter. I think that even when you know how people put alcohol in tonics, for tonics, they'll put bitters in it. I think there are some that actually include golden seal as part of that. But we call it yellow root around here. That is an amazing astringent topically for the eyes, for if you have an infection on your skin or some kind of boil or something that has erupted and you need to wash it out and clean it. I also have had great success with that for people with one of our Appalachian problems, and I have a great I have a great difficulty with people who make fun of Appalachians about their teeth. Do you think we want our teeth to be like this? There are reasons that we have problems with dental care, and it pretty much stems from poverty, which is a base problem in Appalachia and has been, and for a lot of different reasons. But oral health has been far behind here, and it's so unfortunate because I have dentures now. I'm not afraid to say that or ashamed to say that. Let me tell you, my teeth fell out. I have a brittle bone disease, and they just fell out, and there was nothing I could do. I never went a day without brushing, flossing, rinsing, nothing. And I know lots of people have had those issues, but for different reason, you might get one tooth that bothers you, and then next time you know it, here's this another one next to it, and it's falling out. I myself, other people that I love and care for, and other people that I've known as acquaintances have pulled or filed their teeth out by themselves because they could not get proper dental care. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a dentist or anything like this, but as a granny woman, I have helped people with this condition in that it makes a wonderful oral rinse. And what it does is it pulls out that infection. And so, one of the ways that I would tell people to do it is to use a gauze and soak it in an astringent of the golden seal, the yellow root, and put it on their tooth and keep a spit thing there and just keep spitting it out. And because if you swallow it, it's actually good for you if you swallow it, but it can give you digestive, like you got to go to the bathroom. Okay. So, but I tell people to swish, swish, swish with that, spit, swish, spit, and swish, and it will draw that infection out. And as an antiseptic type of remedy, it's extremely effective. And I have to say, if I had to pick one that grows right here in these hills, that would be the one. It is so beneficial. Also, if animals get the sick eyes, like cats get sick eyes a lot, that's something. I also like yarrow for that, which grows right around here. I have a little patch of it in my garden that I dug off of a hill in Kentucky. Yarrow is great for an astringent for like if cats get the sick eyes, but also yellow root can be too. And like I said as well, like it would be used like if somebody had an infection to wash clean or use a poultice of yellow root on that wound.
And let me get back to what you said about teeth in the Appalachia, and, of course, we know that Appalachia in the past has been made fun of. Right now, it seems to be a hot, cool thing. I have no idea, especially in the world of magic. But I will tell you that there were 2 paths that people could take, and it was menfolk, as we call them in the mountain, and that was you could go in the mines or you could go into the mountains. And the mountains, you were a lumberjack. If you obviously went into the mines, you were a miner. Both of them probably have 2 of the highest body counts of any, especially during that time, the olden times, as we call them. And so you went every day not knowing if you were going to come back. And here's what's so sad about that. These men, our ancestors, were taking these chances in the mines and in the mountains, and they didn't know if they were going to be coming back. And what is particularly sad for the miners is even after they on yoked themselves from that job, years later, they may have black lung. I mean, the miner's curse, right? And so they may have black lung to deal with. So people who have not experienced, Appalachia, it's a special kind of poor, as I like to say it. It really is. It's a different poor because you're rich in one way. You're rich because our families are very close. We're very clan. There's a lot of Scotch Irish blood and other. I mean, we have everything from people from Africa, people from Central America. I mean, all of these people came into the Appalachian Mountains from all over the world. There is a place in Pocahontas, Virginia, and there was a mine explosion back in the 1800s, and the names on the tombstones range from Polish to Italian to you name it. There's 188, I think, people who were buried there. May have the number wrong.
My stepfather's daddy died in the mine when he was 33. He was a lay preacher on the Sundays, and also it was told that his mommy got the widow's sign too. So that I guess she asked him not to go, and he was like, Jenny, how are the kids going to eat if I don't go? And he's like, I ain't got time for this. I got to go.
Tell our listeners what the widow sign is.
The widow sign is something that shows you that that's the day that he's going to get killed in the mine. And there's stories that go back. I mean, all you got to do is travel down the road, and if you talk to older folk, somebody or there's somebody's at least heard tell of somebody. Well, before that happened, she got that widow sign, and it's not anything specific except the knowledge. It's like you wake up that day, you're getting him some food ready to go into the mine and pack his lunch, getting the kids up for the day, and something happens that tells you, or you have a pre-knowledge, you have an omen, either something you observed, and it could be something that might seem unrelated, but whatever it was, that thing told you today is the day. And so he said, and that because my stepdad's the oldest, and he remembered that. He said, Jenny, I ain't got time for this. I got to go. And he went. And now he was a lay preacher, and it was told, and still was told, actually, like for true, because one of the fellows that works at the car shop that I go to is friends with the family that's back from there, and still goes to the camp revivals and tent revivals and such, and is familiar with it. But the story is that that he pushed a sinner man out of the way. And that was the story, that he purposely pushed that man, but he was a sinner man, out of the way. And then I don't know, but the sinner man came to the Lord or whatever. But you think about it, they never got those men out. He wasn't the only one that died that day. And they never got those men out. Those men are still under that coal, way down there in the holler, still to this day. So there is literally a part of us that is in this land.
The blood of our ancestors absolutely were shed in these lands, in these parts.
Coal mines, the railroads, the steel mills,
That's right. That's right. And the steel mills,
the rivermen as well.
yeah, exactly. And of course, the steel mills, a lot of people forget that we do have our Pennsylvania brothers and sisters, and they were heavy into, of course, coal mines and steel. And, but for most folks out in the country, you had the mountains or the mines were basically the way that, the careers that you could look forward to. And women, it was almost unheard of to have an education of any type. And you were very fortunate if you were able to read. What about, we talked about these beautiful herbs that you use. And you mentioned yarrow or yellow root is one of your favorites because you can use it for so many different things, right? Yeah. And well, what do you think about using more aromatic? And I shouldn't say that because that's aromatic, but more aromatic herbs like say sage or lavender. rosemary, do you see, I guess what I'm trying to ask, do you see those types of herbs as also ingestible magic? Is it something you should make part of your diet?
So there are so many now, just to be very careful because so many people have medical conditions or take a medication that something might affect. Something was brought to my attention recently, and it was only like last year, and it was something I had not thought of before, which I normally, when I make black salves, I make them like in a 4 ounce jar size. That's a big amount of size because black salve is for pulling out a blister, or if you've got a splinter is stuck inside of you, or you got a bee sting. Okay. Well, I have made them in 4 ounce jars. That would last you for the rest of your life if you got a lot of splinters all the time. It was brought to my attention because I use activated charcoal in that recipe. That if someone did not know and tried to use that as a lotion, it might counteract birth control or antibiotic. And I was like, and also antidepressant because the card charcoal works. And I was like, oh yes. So it's not that I shouldn't put that in my booth or shouldn't give it to people who need it. It's that I should make sure that I'm always giving this very smaller size. As far as aromatic herbs go, um, I do my fair share of eating wild. I forage. I'm a forager. There's a picture on my Facebook of a mushroom, a puffball mushroom that I cut up and grilled. I ended up having a mushroom party because I had a puffball mushroom that was this big. I kid you not. And so I ended up like just saying, oh, I got this big mushroom. Who wants to grill a mushroom today? And we had a mushroom party. But I have a friend who makes incense here locally, which I have been looking for a local incense maker forever and was so, so happy to find her. And she's such a wonderful lady. And she's really good about making special recipes. Was doing a conjure class and I asked specifically, would she make me some Myers lemon and some charcoal incense, which she did. It's wonderful. Well, we've since developed a wonderful friendship. And so I have been all about into, okay, like, and we have little meetings here at the kitchen table all the time, my friends and I who do witch type crafts and craft type witch stuff, right? and, and we call it product research and development, okay? And so I gave her a sample of a type of herb that I collected in Grayson at my friend's house. The name of the herb is hoary mountain mint, which is kind of commonly known as silver sage, but it's not actually a sage. It's a mint. It's really good as an astringent, antiseptic topically, but it smells divine. And so I introduced her to this and I said, listen, I said, I want to make a goodie set of incenses because I'm a potter. So I make incense holders and things that are used in a craft tools, right? That you would use in our craft, a crystal ball stand or a scrying bowl, potterly things that you can use in your craft, your spiritual craft. And so I said, can you make me this hoary mountain mint into an incense? So, okay, she did wonderful. So I'm like, okay, what about black walnut? How about hickory? How about, okay, so we've gone insane with this idea now. Okay, it's real. Okay, so what we're trying to do now is come up with a kit of scents that literally are things that grow here that and this is what I told her, I said, I want a kit of scents that's like, if you opened up that kit and smelled all through the incense, you would say, I'm in Appalachia. One of those is I want an incense that smells like a fireplace. That's an incense I want. And so I found something, and it's actually a type of tea that they call campfire tea. It's got some bergamot and some other things in it, but it really it's like sipping on a cup of campfire. One of my friends introduced me to it. So I said, okay, here's this tea, smell this. And I was like, I want something like that. And then it it's like when you smell this, it's like, oh, I'm on the road home. And also I want something that smells like moss, like soft, wet moss in the spring and fall leaves, and the most wonderful, amazing gift set that you could possibly make for people. And I'd like to have that to go with my burners and such. So it's not just me thinking on local scents. It's people who work with scents as well. And absolutely aromatic things, you betcha. I totally agree with it. And I'm a kind of a smell person. I like to smell things all the time. I sit here, look, I have all these right here. I just like throughout my day, I might be sitting here and doing business or something, and I'm like, oh, I need some lavender behind my ears so I can calm down and breathe better, or, oh, hey, I need to okay, I did all my work for today. My chores are done. I'm getting ready to go downstairs and work on some pottery. Let's get some Leo oil on that job. So, yeah, something that kind of refreshes you through your day, and helps remind you of nature and kind of puts nature in your life.
I love that. And what about for our listeners, do you have something simple, like that you could share, like a recipe?
Let me go over here real quick and grab a recipe right off of the
All right.
refrigerator. How about that?
Yes.
All right. My cousin's here helping me out today, so she's bringing me examples of this. So I just bottled some of these up. So we all know the price of cleaners at the store. Okay. Well, listen, we're witches. Okay. We can do better than that. All right. So, okay. Yeah. All right. So, okay, here we go. Handy dandy. Okay.
I feel like Vanna.
Yeah, da, da. Okay, so I don't know with the camera or whatever, but okay, so and oh, could you grab me a jar of one in process over there? I'm sorry, I should have had that ready. But one of them in process over there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, you're fine.
Oh, those.
It's okay, just be careful. Okay, here's one in process right now. Okay, so this is pine cleaner. Okay, all in the world this is you get your big old jar, big old mason jar, right? This isn't very colorful right now. When you first do it, it's quite colorful because everything's super fresh. Right now, it's being extracted. So I've just been putting this in a sunny window to let it kind of warm extract. But this is a pine cleaner. All the world this is a big old mason jar. And then I would have preferred to have used white pine. I didn't have that available from where I normally get it right now. So I use spruce instead, which is fine. And so it's spruce branches in here. Branches, I just use the needles, branches, just so it's not too thick, don't take up too much space. In this mix, I also put some rosemary from my garden that I dried. I put a bay leaf for luck. Like when you're cleaning, you want to clean with luck, don't you? Okay. I put a little bit of peppermint from my garden that I save for different uses, and that's just for freshness. I use lemon peels. Next time, I'm actually going to put some orange peels in the next batch as well. I didn't have orange on me that day that I got in the mood to make this because it happened to be the new moon. So, well, I didn't have an orange, so this is new moon without an orange. Okay, so something that makes it smell really nice. Use like a little cap full of lemon oil, little cap full of orange oil, plain white vinegar, and my last ingredient on this list, sunshine. So you're going to put that in your window, okay? And of course, a moon to moon cycle is 28 days. So this was started on, and also I try to keep myself sharp. So I think we mentioned this before when you were over here and saw my cabinets. I put dates and stuff on the bottom. That way I can look at them, but I can also be mindful every day and be like, that should be coming out soon. That should be coming out soon. Okay. So, that's it. So, 28-day moon cycle on that. and then you're going to take it and put it in one of these handy dandy squirt bottles. Just filter it out, just strain it out. That's fine. And so there's your, I don't think I should say the name on your podcast, but there's your, that cleaner. Okay. Only you made it, so you'll feel 100 times better about it. And, it don't have no junk in it, right? No toxic stuff or nothing. Okay, so this is, and I just, I don't know, I made these as gifts, so I called them Happy Home. I always like to give something a name. So I call that Happy Home. Okay, this is scouring powder. And I made these up for gifts to give to people for New Year's, for cleaning, right? We always like to clean on New Year's. Okay, and then, so my scouring powder, now you can break this recipe down. I always make a big bowl of something, because if I'm going to make a batch of something, I'm going to make a batch of something, okay? So this yields about 22 ounces or so. 2 cups washing soda, 2 cups baking soda, 6 teaspoons citric acid, 1 cap orange extract oil, 1 cap lemon extract oil. And then what I did before I put it in this little handy dandy jar was I put some rice at the bottom to keep it from getting sticky and clumpy. I found them with this nice cap. And then at the top, all I did was I put like a coffee filter up in here, right? And then closed it up. And then that way it makes a nice gift, and you don't get it all over your car when you're delivering it to people. So is that a pretty good recipe? Does that work for something there?
I love that, and people do like to know about things, but we're getting ready to end the session, this episode, and it's been so beautiful. I'm telling you, I enjoy your company so much, and you have so much more to give. So I hope that you'll join us some other time on the show.
I'd be happy to.
All
Thank
right.
you for inviting me again.
She knows how to use the resources of our mountains. And how can they get a hold of you if they would want to either buy a product or have a question?
Okay. So currently, I have a Facebook site, which is Hearth Obscura Charmworks, which you can read there in the description. I know it's a mouthful. I've had to kind of change my direction on how I'm doing things, as far as I'm doing more sort of teaching classes at home kind of thing than I am doing necessarily booths, because they're becoming physically difficult for me to do a whole lot of them. I'm still doing them, booths and festivals, but just not as much. But I do custom orders. I also have stock. So if you say, listen, just private message, or not private message, but direct message me on Hearth Obscura Charmworks on Facebook and say, hey, do you have any mugs? And I'll show you what mugs I have. Or if you have a question about something that I've posted, if it's available, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. If you have a question that I'm able to answer about how you can work in clay, I've done a little bit of that in the past year, actually. People asking about, well, I think I have some wild clay on my property. How do I harvest that? Or people saying, listen, I have this jar and I have access to a kiln, but I don't know what kind of glaze to put on it. Okay, so, I'm happy to answer questions like that, because, it's great that I make things. That's lovely. And I want everybody to enjoy everything I make, but I'm not Pottery Barn. I don't make 200 million products a year. Okay. So my stuff is handmade with heart. Okay. So, I have things available usually when I have fire loads going, and that's about 4 times a year. I have a lot more stock available. But I am happy to do custom orders if you like. I can ship, and everything like that. If you have something special that you'd like me to make, you can contact me on Hearth Obscura Charmworks on Facebook.
All right. And Michelle, thank you so much. Michelle Horan. She is a daughter of the mountains, a true daughter of the mountains. And we appreciate you having joined us on Pat O'Keefe's World of Curiosities. Until next time, stay curious.